And if you're fishing and you make your living at the docks, it is going to be very busy there. Even if there is a tsunami warning, there wasn't that much time to evacuate. This is, a community which I'm guessing is a very educated guess because people here are used to it. They know that when the tsunami warning comes to evacuate, and so they likely did have some sort of action plan to get out of there. But if you consider it's the middle of the afternoon on a Friday afternoon, this is a country that prides itself on working. Those areas were probably very busy, and so trying to get out of that region very, very quickly was certainly a challenge when this tsunami hit.
We know that the military has been activated as well as naval vessels. They have been dispatched to the northeast of the country. No doubt, as you say, there will be a huge rescue operation underway to try and help any of the survivors. But let's now go to our Ivan Rivera, who has been following this earthquake from the very, very beginning. Ivan.
Absolutely, and tell you what I want to do is switch over to our Google Earth machine here. And in fact, let's show you the pictures here. But this is a widespread event now, and we're going to continue to follow this because as we speak, there is a benign rise in the sea level that is occurring across the Pacific that if you're on a boat out there, you're not going to notice. But as that wave approaches a coastline, that amplitude of the wave becomes higher and higher, and that is where you can get 25, upwards of, my goodness, a 50-foot of waves crashing on shore. We've already had reports of more than a 25-foot wave hitting Japan, so we're going to continue to monitor that as the wave propagates further to the east. And again, this is one tsunami with many, many waves that are coming in. We've already seen that in Japan. Again, let's go through some of the countries here. Essentially, there are over 50 countries now in the Pacific Basin that are under a tsunami warning. That means that we are expecting a tsunami arrival. Over 50 countries in the Pacific. There are watches posted for California, Oregon, and Alaska. The rest of us here are under a tsunami warning. Let's start off with the next arrival. This is happening in just a few minutes here at 9:17 GMT, Wake Island. Are you watching us from Taiwan? Your arrival at 9:40 GMT. That's about 30 minutes away now. According to our times here, the Philippines getting in on it at 10 GMT, Marshall Islands at 10:20 GMT. As the wave approaches these islands, if we have folks available on the ground, we are going to try to make safe contact with them so they can tell us what is going on there. Each government, up to them, is certainly how to evacuate folks. But keep in mind, some of these islands here are so tiny and so close to sea level that if you're talking about a wave, a wall of water that is 25-foot plus high, you can encompass the entire island here. So that is what we're talking about, the atolls specifically across the South Pacific. Indonesia arrival time at 11 GMT. And again, we're going to continue to track this for the next 24 hours, just like we did with the Chile earthquake. Solomon Islands at 12:28 GMT. Kiribati down to the south at 13:37 GMT. What we cannot do is forecast, and this is what everybody wants to know. If you're living in some of these countries, right, how high is this water going to be? Cannot forecast that because the bathymetry of that, once that water approaches, is so different in every coastline. The irregularity of that is so different that literally in the same country we could have an arrival of a 5-foot wave and just a few kilometers away a 20-foot wave plus. So that is the problem we have, is trying to forecast these things as they arrive. We know when they will arrive, we just don't know how bad they will be. New Zealand at 18:23 GMT. Nicaragua, now we're getting into 2200 GMT, and I'll stop there because the warnings continue. If we have the other map, guys, that has the country cities on there, let's switch to that if we can put that behind me. We have warnings now that extend essentially to Mexico, Peru, California, Ecuador. All these regions are going to be impacted at some point or another, but that is down the pipe. We're talking 24 hours, and we have plenty of time to warn those folks. The countries that you're seeing highlighted there in this map, those are the ones that we're concerned about because as you see the epicenter there, 150 kilometers just east of Sendai in Japan, you are close enough to that epicenter where that wave, of course, arrives quicker to your location. Taiwan specifically, all preparations, and anyone along the coast has to have already moved inland, has to have done that by several kilometers, and certainly at about at least 15 meters high, 50 feet. That is your safety there. If you can do that and you're watching us and listening to us, that is what I want you to do. Philippines, the same deal, but an hour later, that's your arrival there. And again, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and there are the Marshall Islands. That's the tsunami threat, Anna. We are covering the tsunami threat, but in Japan, I just, again, saw another earthquake, which is essentially what we call them after the original quake, aftershocks, right, of a 6.4. Any buildings that have been compromised or structures that have been weakened as a result of the offshore 8.9 are going to come down in a hurry with earthquakes, aftershocks of that magnitude. So Japan is seeing a double threat here. The tsunami warning continues there. That threat is continuing and ongoing. And then the earthquake threat will actually continue well past when we're done talking about the tsunami here. One point about Hawaii and the islands further to the south and east of the Philippines here. Again, the Indonesia earthquake back in 04, we had that Banda Aceh at that 9.1, right? Look at all the land masses here that were essentially buffeting the water as it was moving in here. The earthquake this time happened here. Look at all the open space that water has to travel. So that's going to propagate to the south, to the east, and again, you're not protected if you are facing one way or the other on the shoreline. The tsunami will surround you. And it's difficult to kind of grasp. You think a wave has kind of come right on the shore from one direction, but it actually propagates and encompasses entire islands, and so really no one is safe, and that's why we continue to hear the civil sirens going off in Hawaii. We have our folks down there, and we'll continue to bring you updates live if we can get them for folks if they can do it from safety. So again, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center now under a widespread tsunami threat for basically the entire Pacific basin with few exceptions. On over 50 countries will be impacted. We continue to update the arrival times. Hawaii now at 3:07 local time. That is the initial wave that we're expecting there.
But as you mentioned, Taiwan is next in the firing line as far as tsunamis go. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
In the next half an hour?
At 9:40 GMT is the arrival there. So that is going to be the next major area that is going to be hit. And again, the problem is we can't tell our good friends in Taiwan, you're going to be hit by a certain, X wave. We just don't know until it actually hits because of the irregularity of all the shorelines there.
Yeah, well, Ivan, you've been doing a great job keeping us up to date and alerting all our viewers around the world as to what is going on. So, Ivan, we'll check in a little bit later as we get closer to that time when the tsunami is expected to hit Taiwan. Well, in the past hour, Japanese Prime Minister Naoto Kan has appealed for calm and cooperation as the government struggles to coordinate rescue and relief efforts. He is urging people not to panic, to be patient and to help each other.